All right, here's what's going on this 8th day of March 2009. We'll be live here for the next 2 hours. We have Lindsey Williams joining us for the last hour and 15 minutes of this Sunday abbreviated transmission. I do every Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. For folks in the eastern area, of course, that is 5 to 7 p.m. And out on the Pacific, that is 2 to 4. Thank you again for joining us today. Let me break down the 4 stacks of important news I have here, and I'm really just going to news blitz and go through news for the next 45 minutes until Mr. Williams joined us. Then we'll have open phones for the balance of the transmission, dealing with what's happening with the contrived global collapse that we have been detailing for many years before it began, exactly how it would begin and how it would unfold. Vaccines were contaminated with avian flu virus. That is the headline, and that headline is out of the Toronto Sun. Here is another headline. This is out of the Canadian Press. Baxter product contained live bird flu virus. Another headline out of the Times of India. Virus mix-up by lab could have resulted in pandemic. Another headline, vaccines as biological weapons, live avian flu virus placed in Baxter vaccine materials sent to 18 countries. That's out of National News and Mike Adams, the health ranger. And then that dovetails with the New York Times article dealing with Baxter Pharmaceutical, tied into Bayer. They were part of the IG Farben Combine during World War II. Bayer is, with the Nazis. Blood, money, and AIDS is the headline, and it talks about how Bayer and other companies knowingly shipped out Factor VIII blood product filled with HIV and hepatitis. And over 1 million dosages of that were sent out, and everyone that took it contracted HIV and AIDS eventually, and, of course, hepatitis. All 3 A, B, and C in there for you. And, of course, France arrested the directors of Bayer in France, but that was it. Nobody else got in any trouble, and it did come out. This was from June 11th, 1996, by the way, the New York Times. I just thought I'd pull that up for you. But it came out in 2000 in court hearings that they premeditatedly did it. That's the important thing for those of you out there that still think vaccines are good for you. Sure, roll up your sleeves. Meanwhile, we have national television and Dr. Dean Adele and others calling us conspiracy theorists when we just read out of the Associated Press and the New York Times. But this latest one was bird flu. It kills over 60% of those that ingest it, but it's not very airborne. It only lives a few seconds in the air, so they were splicing it with a bunch of other varieties of hardy flu that are extremely airborne and extremely contagious, and by the grace of God, a subcontractor tested it on ferrets, and it killed all of them. Of course, normally they would just test on the ferrets because the ferrets get sick. It means that the flu virus wasn't radiated properly in the vaccine, a routine problem. And so then they would send it back. But instead, it just killed them better than a hammer. So they studied what was in it, and it was this broke in the Czech Republic. They tested it there and in Austria. And the people at these 18 sites are all having to go to the hospital and be tested right now. So that's the type of issues we have here. I could, frankly, spend 2 hours on that, but spend a little bit more time on it later. Also, every day I see articles from even the South. You'd think this only goes on in places like Boston, in Massachusetts, or in places like Connecticut, where people legally go to the gun shop, they buy some guns, and the police pull them over and charge them for having an arsenal. There's no law, but they still go to prison. Now you're saying, how does that happen? Well, people go to prison all the time for not taking vaccines. There's no law. I've had listeners, and it's been in the newspaper, in Lyon County, Kentucky. Kelly Rushing gave state police some of my videos. The police arrested him and said it was threatening, and said that they didn't appreciate the material in my film Road to Tyranny. It was also a Ron Paul video, and I called the judge up at home, and he said, yeah, you can watch the court case. I'm not going to comment on it. And it was in the newspaper, and they took him in there and tried to put him in prison, and the jury said not guilty. They said it was terrorism to hand out my videos. Then we have the state police being trained on their own video footage around the country that freedom is terrorism. I'm not joking when I say this. I want you to understand something. But I see these articles every day where troops returning home are arrested for having guns legally, where citizens are being harassed. And Again, we're not against the police here until they stomp all over the Bill of Rights and Constitution, and the feds are training the police the Second Amendment is evil and bad. They're federalizing everything. Police chiefs nationwide are announcing they're going to take your blood at checkpoints for any reason, any misdemeanor now. They're announcing everywhere that even small cities are getting federal grants to put up police surveillance cameras. We always told you the cameras weren't for the highway, folks. It was dual use. They're face scanning you. They're tracking you. Austin's getting it. It's just happening everywhere. But I have these reports here. Police, arsenal found in Danbury teen's truck. And he's 18 years old. He went and legally bought some rifles. He was going to shoot them with his buddies in Maine ahead of a wedding that he was going to attend. The police pulled him over, and he had 4 rifles, and they freaked out and flipped out. And they were all legal semi-automatic rifles, and they still arrested him, and they're charging him. And there's no law, but they don't care. Now, in Texas, there was no law that you couldn't carry a rifle or shotgun loaded in your car. Still, people are in prison everywhere for it. You try putting one in your gun rack and driving down the road. So the state of Texas had to pass a law a few sessions back stating no. They had to pass a law saying there is no law that making it illegal for you to carry a gun. The only law they kept in there was you can't have a loaded handgun with you in the front of the car. It needs to be separated from the ammo in the back of the car or locked up somewhere. But still, I know a lot of people get pulled over. They said, do you have any firearms in the car? Well, certainly I do, officer. Oh, going to go ahead and take you into jail. And the court system is so corrupt, they will charge you with things you're not even guilty of to put you under the jail. So I want to get into some of that. In fact, let's just get into that right now, and I'm going to get into all this other news here on the economy. This is out of the Omaha World Tribune. And notice how they report this like it's normal and no big deal. A marksman in Iraq, no gun permit in Omaha. Now, they're honest in this article. The instant check is registration. It is a gun permit. It turns a right into a privilege. And Clinton put hundreds of thousands of veterans on a list when he left office where they have no criminal convictions, not even misdemeanors. The federal law, the 68 Gun Control Act, says a felony, and you can't own a gun. But they don't care. That's why Obama is now seizing all the psychological records of all Americans. If you were 15 years old and put on Ritalin or something, no firearm. Doesn't matter if you're 35 now. And a bank president. It doesn't matter if you were in the military. Doesn't matter if you're police. They're all going to be losing and are losing their peace officer licenses right now. So it goes on here. It says Sergeant Tim McKeely trained fellow Marines to fire 50 caliber machine guns. He qualified as a marksman. He fought in the Battle of Fallujah, Iraq, and received a combat medal with a V for Valor. Back home, he uses a rifle for target shooting. Yet when McKeely sought to buy a 9mm Ruger pistol for protection in his Midtown apartment, the Omaha Police Department rejected his application for a gun permit. You think in Nebraska they have a good Second Amendment. They don't. I was trusted by the federal government. Oh, we're trusted by the government. How nice. The people stealing all the money right now. To carry a loaded weapon, but I'm not allowed to purchase one by my local government. McKeely, 32, has received counseling for post-traumatic stress disorder related to service in Iraq. While completing an application for a gun permit, he responded yes to a question that asked whether he was being treated for a mental disorder. See, they advertise that everybody's got to get a mental disorder. It's like getting a new pair of Nike tennis shoes. It's the latest thing. It's how you get, everybody should go to counseling, and, so it's on your insurance. We'll give you a designation. No gun for him. But that's nothing compared to this article out of Connecticut. Arsenal found in Danbury teen. They said, well, you're not allowed to have more than one gun, and so it doesn't matter if he's going to the shooting range. We're going to charge him with felonies. And they just love it. Lick their lips as they destroy America. We'll be right back. We are back live. Thank you for joining us. Throughout history, every time governments disarm their people, they jack the taxes up, double, triple them, and enslave the population. Every mafia-run city like New York, Chicago, and L.A. has massive gun control against the people and the highest crime rates. And now it's going nationwide. And I see these stories every day, and normally it's preceded by, Bill was an insurance salesman living in an upscale home at a barbecue. He told his neighbors the economy was going to collapse. I mean, I've seen literally hundreds of stories just like this. You can pull them up. And Bill told his neighbors the economy was going to collapse and that they need to get storable food and buy firearms, and that he had quite a bit of firearms. The police raided his home and confiscated 15 firearms. And they're investigating to see if he's a terrorist. And then I go check the state's laws. I've seen this in Texas, Ohio, you name it. It's not even illegal. And then we'll call the person up over and over again. I'll have my producers, these people, and 99% of the time they go, oh, my lawyer says don't talk. My lawyer says I got to plead to this. But wait, it's not illegal. I know, but you know, they're just saying that if I plead, they won't put me in prison for 20 years and I'll just be on probation. And a few times they fought it and won. They've listened to me. It's gotten to the point I don't even call these people up anymore.